Hi everyone, it's Genevieve from Kangarootime. Thank you so much for watching the recording of our webinar right now. At Kangarootime, we create software for childcare centers. We're an all-in-one solution that helps centers grow their business, connect with their families, and effectively manage their staff members. Our software will help you automate your entire business, including payments, billing, check-in and check-out for children, keeping track of staff hours. We also do classroom automation, and this gives your teacher prompts while they're in the classroom to update parents on feedings, diaper changes, and developmental milestones. And it really hardwires the parents into the early education experience, and they get a beautiful feed of content right on their smartphones. So if you're looking for billing and a payment solution, a parent app, or staff scheduling, contact Kangarootime today. Thanks so much and enjoy the webinar.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining. We'll get started in just a moment. We'll give everybody about 90 seconds to dial in. And then we'll take care of a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll get started. Matt, how's the weather in Dallas, Texas? Are you guys in a polar vortex or?
No blizzards, no vortex, no tornadoes. Things are looking up here in DFW. You know, we got, this well, we're right in the middle of that 1 or 2 months of the year. That's awesome. Before it gets super hot.
Yeah. In Buffalo, we have our 2 to 3 weeks of glory. It hits between about June 10th and June 11th.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, all right, everybody. It looks like we have a ton of you joining. Thanks for taking the time, carving out the time. As we get started, just a quick introduction. I'm Scott Wayman. I'm the CEO and founder at Kangarootime. I want to thank Matt for joining us. He's the CEO at ChildcareCRM. We'll go ahead and get started. We know we have a lot of people that are new to our webinars. So I'd like to acquaint you with our company. We are a software company for childcare centers, and we help them optimize their businesses. We also have a few resources for you. So first one I'd like to just plug real quick is our blog. Please navigate over to our blog, push subscribe here. It will give you access to all the content that we produce. We have a team that's producing content on the regular, and everything from our webinars to articles to free resources. Please subscribe so you'll get that little Chrome notification when something goes up. It's non-invasive, it won't bother you. On another non-invasive content absorption tip, navigate over to our YouTube page. We have 371 subscribers. There is an embarrassment of wealth here. And to only have 361, dyslexia, subscribers, that's a shame. Everybody subscribe, set your alerts up. Again, you'll see content here posted once or twice per week. We're not going to bombard you, but the thought leaders that we have already nested here, it's just gold. I mean, we're about to get classic gold from Matt Amoia, but no, there's already a ton of great stuff here. And in fact, I was just watching one of our webinars on my Echo. I don't want to say the A word because I know I'll activate this thing over here. Matt, don't even try it. And then guys, please join us. When COVID started, we spun up KT Childcare Connect, and we've been so fortunate to have so many of you participate in great discussions here around childcare, digital storytelling and data from our team. So we'll post data, and some of which we're about to show you, so you can see how you're performing against your cohort. There's also great resources here. Beth Cannon, Holly Alyssa Bruno, Genevieve will post things that are either going through legislation or spirit of the times zeitgeisty stuff. But guys, this is a great resource. Please join this group and look at this. Like, you have the handsome Matt Amoia and then the 30 pounds overweight Scott Wayman picture, which I demand you guys quit using. We cannot use that picture anymore. All right. So with that said, final housekeeping notes. Certificates. Many of you have joined us today. We're proud to provide you continuing education certs. You will get those in an email tomorrow. Genevieve gets hundreds of emails asking for when you'll get them. And if there's any problem with submitting those, please let us know, but you'll get them tomorrow. If you have questions, pop those down into the Q&A button on the Zoom call. If they're answerable, Genevieve and Sierra will be kind of answering those in the background. If we don't get to them prior to the Q&A portion, the last 10 minutes of the webinar, we'll answer them then. And then microphones and cameras, don't worry guys, we can't see you. We'd love to, we miss all your faces and you're all so beautiful, but we can't see you. And then the recording, when we send our wrap up tomorrow, so whoever's here is going to get an email with a wrap up. It's going to have a link. Please share it with your team. We love it when you share things. But with that said, I'd love to introduce Matt Amoia from ChildcareCRM. CRM has been one of our great partners. I've done a session before on mentorship. When I left my first startup and started Kangarootime, I was routed to Chuck Gibbs, the founder of ChildcareCRM, who has since become the chairman and brought in Matt to really do some great things with the company. What CRM does, they allow centers to connect with new families at the right time. We talk a lot about top of the funnel, and ChildcareCRM invented top of the funnel engagement for childcare providers. They have a platform that leverages emails and nurture journeys, text messages, and a simple yet powerful sales and marketing all in one platform. So they are also offering a great incentive to everyone here today. They'll waive all their implementation and setup fees. And guys, this is such a huge savings. I know from our customers that the setup, the white glove process that ChildcareCRM uses is amazing. So to get that value for free, it's just incredible. So a little bit about Matt before we get started. He is the CEO of CRM. Matt, how long have you been there? About 15, 16 months? Or
yeah, about 16 or 17. Yeah. It's been a wild ride so far. Just like I drew it up. 2020 went exactly how my first year was all planned.
Yeah. I saw your twisting of your mustache and who could have ever thought 2020 would have played out the way it did? Matt's been an amazing partner to us. I know I enjoy doing these podcasts with him. He's actually going to drive the presentation today, so I'm just along for the ride. You won't have to get my awkward analogies or my that's what she said moment that we always get in these webinars, because Matt's going to do it for me. But today, right, Matt and I will discuss how you can increase your enrollment for your child care center. We know that many of you are looking for an increase in enrollment right now, whether that's because you have open spaces right now or because restrictions have been lifted just here recently in your area, and you can accommodate more children. And I'll say this, Matt, as you take over and drive the show, I've said it for a couple of months now. I think, the 1920s, the roaring 20s, they were kind of unlocked by all this pent up demand that the the Spanish, the
Spanish flu.
1918 flu,
Yeah.
kind of presented. And I think that 2020 represents the same thing with the vaccination rollout. And another thing, I think we are also blessed to be in childcare today, because I think the world has acknowledged that these cute little centers that nobody really respects and nobody really understands how dynamic they are. I think we all realized how essential the world of early education is. And I think for us, we're about to boost into the roaring 20s, the roaring 2020s. So let's get ready. Let's let the healing begin. Matt, take it over, and I'll pop in as needed.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and share. I am the CEO of ChildcareCRM. That does not mean I'm good at Zoom and sharing screens and all that stuff. Many blunders over the last year. So let's make sure I get this right. Y'all can see my screen. Okay. Is that good? Scott, can you see it all right? Let's see. Good to go, Scott?
Looks fantastic.
All right. So yes, we'll get started. Thanks for the intro, Scott. Awesome to be here. We are so fond of our friends at Kangarootime. And like you said, great partnership over the years. Started with Scott and our founder, Chuck Gibbs, and just feel really fortunate to be a part of the team these days going forward. And we're doing some big things. And like Scott said, things feel like they're on the up of late. And so there's still plenty of people out there who are working through some tough times, and we acknowledge that, and we want to be here to help. And one of those things that we can do to help is talk about boosting your enrollment, which we're going to focus on today. So maybe, Scott, if you want to just pipe in here on any of the early indicators to recovery or some of the state of the child care sector, things you're seeing, trends you're seeing. I know a couple of these we see on our side and a couple are yours as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to this in slides later, but we've been tracking what we see as kind of a Nike swoosh shape recovery. I think we talked about a V-shaped recovery in the early days, and I think the way the pandemic played out. So if you rewind back to March of last year, Matt, I talked to you, I talked to Chuck, I talked to many of our cohorts, I talked to many of our customers out there. The thinking was, okay, there's a lot of unknown here. We have a pandemic on our hands. Our revenues, our center's revenues dropped from normal down to about 18% in April. And then in May went up to about 23%. And then there's just been this slow, awkward, grind of a recovery back to normal. Now, I know that there's been, you look here, there's been fluctuations per center, and we've seen some interesting things like in California. Numbers were better in October than they were in December. And that didn't play out according to the national averages. We were the epicenter I'm in California right now. I'm in Long Beach. We were the epicenter right around Christmas. And I think in Texas, that wasn't the case. New York was well on its way back with maybe kind of the indicators of a second spike. But now with vaccine rollout, I think quite honestly, some herd immunity in certain regions, we're starting to see much more interesting trends. And we'll show this in our video. If you go back to last March, one of our common customers, Nat, Tuckaway, they had basically a negative wait list. They had openings. People were starting to pull children out of school, and this was March of last year. So you're taking like early March where there was no effect, and then late March where everything just dropped precipitously, and then compared to this March month, year over year, I think their wait list had something like 25 on it versus a negative. So things are starting to come back. We'll get into more detail when we get into the graphs. I'll let you wax poetic on your domain with digital registration and self-scheduled tours for sure.
Yeah, I think we're going to get into those as we go along, but at a very high level, we do a benchmark study every year. Last year's we did in November, which you can find on our website and all of our blog resources. There's some trends that stick out, probably not shocking to all of us these days, but especially with the 2020 we had. Heavy emphasis on parents being able to shop for care online and schedule tours online, interact back and forth digitally, use digital forms products. If I'm filling out enrollment packets, it's no more paper, no more manual, no more having to stop by the center. Those are all things that we're going to hit today that really feel like emerging trends going into 2021. And to Scott's point, we're even seeing the attendance start to move up into the right too and get to those pre-pandemic levels as well. So this is actually some data coming straight from Kangarootime system and customers. And Scott, you want to add anything to this one?
Yeah, again, if you can kind of see the Nike swoosh there and some volatility that kind of hit in between October and January, I think April will represent like a mid 80s month. And from what we're seeing and hearing from our customers, April seems to be the signature month of the comeback. And Matt, you and I, we both attended the Hinge conference. Our last conference. That was the
last. It was the last happy hour we went to.
Yes, exactly. Gosh, we've got to change that now. We've got to change that soon. But one of the interesting P&L sessions that we sat in that was driven by Kathy was this concept of the P&L. It was a P&L session, and essentially a healthy childcare business. One of the takeaways I got, at about 70 to 75% of full utilization, at maximum utilization, starts to really kind of hit its profitability stride. And then everything from 75% up goes straight to the bottom line, because you've got all your variable expenses and all your flat expenses kind of leveled out. If you do add, let's say you're at a school with an average enrollment of 100 and you go to 110, you're not augmenting your staff. You're not injecting that much more on the expense line compared to the revenue line. So I think many of our schools are kind of entering into kind of a stability mode. And if you look at July, August, those were tough months. Not only were we dealing with new guidance and not having any clarity as to, and again, this was region by region, and being in New York, getting guidance from licensing and government, that was a challenge in itself. But the exciting news about this graph is that sweet spot of profitability and optimizing top line revenue and having as much profitability drop to the bottom line. We're entering that zone. So we're no longer in survival mode, in my opinion. We're entering some really healthy days. And the key to that is utilization, right? Utilization is the lifeblood of the business.
Yep. And let's talk about that. So leading indicator to attendance and getting that utilization are the opportunities, right? The at-bats you get to try and enroll families in your center. So one of the leading indicators that we look at on our side, we're, again, a little bit higher up in the funnel, as Scott likes to put it. We're basically interacting with parents who are looking for care, right? So that first inquiry, whether it's on your website or on one of the childcare search engines out there, on Facebook, all of those inquiries funnel into our CRM, and we can see, the kind of trends as it comes to leads or opportunities, as this graph calls them. It's essentially a child that could enroll in your program. So you can see the blue line, dark blue line, 2019. You can see 2020, much to Scott's point. You can kind of see that Nike swoosh from April March, the trough and the dip in April, and then it's starting to come back a little bit last year, and that's that lighter blue line. And then the purple line is us so far this year. So it's only through February. We'll close the month here next week and update these numbers. We expect March to be really close to that peak, if not above the peak that you see in March of 2020. But the difference, of course, this year will be that line will stay straight or even go a little up to the right to match kind of 2019's August, September, October, right? And it's more seasonal, and we know people are filling up around then. So feels really good, feels like the leads are really, of course, above 2019 and really close to pre-pandemic levels. And we're seeing that in the number of opportunities folks have in their pipelines that they're trying to actively convert, right?
Hey, Matt, would you say that the 2019 line, there's a question here, why the dip in Q4 2019? That's typical, right? That's kind of like the typical school year, and I can
seasonality.
It's the seasonality. Yep.
For sure. And 2020, had it not been a pandemic year, you would have seen the same thing, right? Of course, you wouldn't see the trough in April, May, but then you would have seen, the spike around August through October, and it would have dipped more. Now, since all of those months were so much lower due to the pandemic, it actually kind of looks like 2020 was going up in November and December, and it was, but that's kind of artificially because the rest of the year was so low, if that makes sense.
I'm trying to think of levers. If you look at, if you kind of look at, there are some compounding levers, right? Like, just take 2019. So you have that dip at the end of the year, which you didn't have in 2020 because the school year just got broken, right? Like,
right.
People were out of school. Another interesting concept here is so many of both of our centers were doing some interesting things. They were pivoting and doing some after school type or school age type pivots with having rooms open with supervision. So yeah, it's really interesting to really think about momentum at the end of 2020, where 2020 was greater than 2019, and thinking about that, what we were talking about earlier with the pent-up demand and what we have in front of us the next couple of quarters.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see, and exciting, right? Because we all want it to come back. So we're gonna talk about that today, right? Like, how do you take advantage of that, and how do you be on the leading edge of a recovery as a center, right? And it's a great segue into the ways you can do that, right? So we're going to talk about keys to powering that recovery. Three really main, in general, what we want to do today is kind of make sales and marketing less scary, right? Because a CRM, lots of people are like, what's a CRM? Customer relationship management. What does that really mean? At the end of the day, it's good old-fashioned sales and marketing. And we talk a lot about good old-fashioned sales and marketing best practice, right? And it's not rocket science. It's if someone says, fills out a web form on your website, should you contact them right away or should you wait 3 days? Well, I should contact them right away. Duh, right? But I think sometimes the words and the lingo and the acronyms and stuff make it confusing and intimidating, and software in general. But I think what you're going to see when we go through this is tools like a CRM and a management system like Kangarootime. The idea is to automate all those things you may, not like to do, might not be your strength or your strong suit, and gives you some time to focus on the things you really love, right? And the reason you're in childcare, we're all in childcare in the first place. So we're going to talk about first understanding where the leads are coming from. And then how that dictates how you should spend your time and your resources going after them. Understanding, once you know where they're coming from, understanding how to interact with them and how to engage. What are parents looking for post-pandemic and, just 2020, this day and age anyway? And then how do you leverage automation and tools like ours to take care of the dirty work, the gunk, so that you can focus on the children in your center. Cool. So to start, it's all about knowing where the leads come from, right? And if you don't, it's going to be really hard to know where to focus your time and energy and your dollars, right? And so the sales and marketing term is ROI, return on investment. In plain speak, it's bang for your buck, right? It's like, if I'm going to spend some dollars advertising and try and generate some interest in my center, where should I do that, right? And so it's really important to understand what channels your leads are coming in from. On average, you see there's a metric out there that's tossed around about 30% more in annual revenue for companies who understand where the leads are coming from. Mostly because once they understand it, they devote more energy to the ones that provide more leads, those channels that are.
I'll say this. I think at Kangarootime, we're obsessed with two things: attribution. So we want to know where the leads are coming from, and intent. Once we understand intent, and once we kind of like build out the models that really kind of like segment the leads, inbound, whatever. Once we understand intent, that's when you really understand where to spend money, how to go after that segment that's really. And for me, it's not kind of like it's not a Hunger Games or a survival of the fittest for those vying to become our customers. It's us helping to align how much value we provide to the customers that really want that. So can we show value to the right people? And then why not triple down and quadruple down on that? Because it's more effective anyway. Like you said, Matt, before you guys came around, there was no way to understand attribution or where the lead came from. And there was no real way to science the intent. So those two things are so critical. They're
Absolutely.
So important.
Absolutely. And so where are the leads coming from, right? And so last year, in that benchmark study, every year we publish, the big trends. And last year we continued to see this big shift into the web, the internet, right? The interwebs is where people want to shop, quote unquote, shop online and look for their childcare options. They want to inquire online and interact digitally. And so no surprise to any of us, especially with 2020, where we were quarantined and it's so much move in our daily lives moved to contactless. The web continues to be the number one source for leads. We're seeing walk-in and phone go down year over year, and walk-in, of course, kind of plummeted last year given the conditions with the pandemic. So curious, we've got a few poll questions layered in through here. I think we have one around this too, just to kind of understand of the audience where you see the majority of your leads coming in today.
Hey, Matt, I'll say this. In 2014, when I was doing customer development, almost everything came through the phone, almost everything. So and I think you've seen this in Australia, some trends in Australia where everything is routed through a call center, and we're seeing those call centers with centralized enrollment. Those are starting to shrink down, and everything is moving over to digital.
Absolutely. And, it's not just, I know when we talk about centralized enrollment, lots of times folks are like, well, I can't stand up an entire team in a call center and stuff. It's this idea that you have someone dedicated to it is the most important thing, right? So even if you don't have a call center that you outsource your enrollment to, if you have someone at the center that's focused on this stuff, you're going to win. And we see that time and time again. People succeed. So let's make sure I'm on here. Good. So next up is understanding the target audience, right? So where the leads are coming from. And to Scott's point, understanding intent and what they care about. So we do have a few slides to hone in on that. And no shocker to everybody here, nowadays, more and more parents are millennials, right? And everybody wants to interact digitally. They use and consume technology way different than previous generations have, and it's not going back, right? It's only going to get more and more intense as we go on. So first things first, know where they're at and meet them there, right? Don't try and force parents to come into the center or to do manual paper-based enrollment packets or send you a letter in the mail that they're interested, right? They're digital, and stats show that 62% of those millennials if they engage with a company or a brand, they're more likely to do business with them and be a loyal customer. Obviously, reviews are huge. We actually, we have a bunch of customers who use our system to send out surveys and ask for reviews. Our platform doesn't store those or expose those online, but it is a mechanism, CRM is a mechanism folks use to try and get that feedback. I highly recommend focusing on reviews in your center anywhere online that's there published, because that's I don't know about you, Scott, but I'm sure when you buy your skinny jeans, the first thing you do is look at the reviews and who's got the best ones, right?
I was about to say the, sans the skinny jeans. I mean, but no, 82% almost seems low. And in fact, Matt, at trade shows, I have talked to owners that had just kind of an outlier of a review, one review. They might have hundreds, greatest reputation. And that review, that review management is so key to the business. It can do so many, it can decrement all the good from a business. So again, we need to have an entire session on review management and the importance there.
Yep. Yeah. So meet these millennial parents where they are online. Make sure you have a good online digital footprint, as they say. Next up is prioritize text over any other means of communication. So I don't know about y'all, but in my household, like my kids are texting each other from across the room, right? Or we text when we're all under the same roof. It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous at this point. So I try and stop it as much as possible. But look, it's the way of the world, and it's here to stay, right? And so 60% of millennials prefer texting over email or phone. I mean, it is what it is, right? And we saw during last year, with all the communications that go out through our system, a tremendous spike in digital communication anyway, right? So email and text, but by far text was the winner, I guess, in ways to engage folks, especially last year. Every center was like, here are updates about the center or our status or changes with COVID to our rules. So we saw that jump off the page. And then of course, it's proven that in our system that the highest lead converters use text like double, triple as many times as the next guy. So
and this is kind of attention graph science. I mean, what we found, so we did a lot of studying, or we have a ton of information, hundreds of thousands of families on our parent engagement app. And we can see like how quickly they'll respond to a push notification and app. And right. We can see, as you guys can, 95% of texts get responded to or acknowledged within the first 5 minutes, which is incredible. So we rank text messaging as the modality that sits on top of the attention graph. And I don't know about you, but I'm always testing Kangarootime parent app or staff app, and then I've got CNN, I've got all the different news apps, and then my calendar. Push notifications get pushed out of the way. Text, yep. They just take priority. They sit right at the top of the attention graph.
Yep, absolutely. We do have another poll on this one. Interesting to poll the audience out there and see who's leveraging text as a form of communication, or how often. It'd be good to understand that too. So here's a quick poll on that.
Hey, and while folks are answering questions or answering the polls, I see somebody wrote in and said licensing requires real signatures, no electronic. This hurts electronic applications. So more and more we're seeing some federal legislation on digital signature. I mean, obviously the eco-friendly way of acquiring signatures for the good of us all is electronically. My first startup is a company called MedStreaming, where we built an electronic medical records. We started in 2007, and just imagine how antiquated we were back then. We leveraged all this kind of like reference data, federal law, eco-friendly kind of components to really push our agenda. And never ever did we get into a health system to where they would say, hey, the insurance companies are demanding that we get wet signatures, to where we couldn't get that reversed. And I've seen the same thing in 49 out of 50 states. There's one state, I won't mention them, that's been really hard-headed about any and all digital conversion. And I'll just say this, let's think about this. I may or may not have kind of like signed my wife's name on something, and who will ever know? Who will ever know?
Right.
When you look at a digital signature, the legitimacy of a digital signature, it has an IP address. There are like 7 factors of authentication. You know who opened it. You know who signed it. You know they have a digital. There's a validation criteria when you do enter your signature. So for those of you that are really trigger shy on moving to digital and capturing signatures, and or you need help with your licensing, let both CRM and Kangarootime know. We will advocate for you. We will give you data and best cases. So again, I hate when I see that, because I know that there's some old school licenser out there that's been like, I need to see the paper file. I need to see wet signatures on there. Even with sign in and sign out, when we can confirm like 7 factors of authentication, geolocation, ID, all these validation criteria. If a licensor is wanting to see a scribble, signature on a line that's more valid than that,
Right.
I am angry. I will go after them. That's my job as CEO at Kangarootime, is to help our centers with governance and clear out this nonsensical kind of, my licensor said this or that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And a couple things I would say about digitizing that enrollment step is, one, if there are forms that need a paper signature, if they just have to drop the forms off, print them out, sign it, maybe they fill everything out online and just sign the end, that's better than not, right? And then I would even take it a step further and think of it not so much about, yes, it's about digitizing and taking the paper out of the mix and the burden and all that stuff, but it's also conversion. So if you have folks who are used to doing things online and they're looking at 3 different centers, and you're the one center where they can't fill out the paperwork online, even if they have to bring it in and drop off a wet signature after, if you can't get them to that conversion step of getting the forms in front of them and say, fill these out and you're good to go, you're going to lose that lead. And so I think it's important for folks to think of it from that perspective too, is it's much about converting the leads as anything else, right? Because we all know if there's any, friction or anything in a sign up process, you could be really into something and there's so many things online, that free trial this and that. Think about that free trial thing where you say, okay, yeah, this looks cool, I'm going to sign up for the free trial. And you get to the step where you got to put in your credit card because they're going to charge it. And when the free trial is done, 5 months from now, 3 months from now, whatever it is, and then you just leave, and it's that idea that they're going to go along with you in that journey and say, okay, you know what, I want to enroll at this center, but then I got to drive and pick up the packet and fill it out in the parking lot and all that stuff.
It's too much friction. It's too much friction. So like Matt, if you can deliver it and house it, and even if they do have to print it and put a wet signature on there, you've reduced like 2/3 of the friction, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And related to that is the ability for those parents shopping online to schedule tours promptly, right? And so again, that benchmark study we put out every year, one of the trends we've seen for 2nd year in a row, obviously also heightened due to the pandemic last year, is if you can get folks to tour within the first 24 hours, your odds of converting that lead go up 83%. 83%. That's a lot if you can get people to tour within 24 hours. And again, it's that idea, like the friction, like, hey man, everything looks great. I love the pictures. I love the curriculum. I love the location. Everything's great for this center, but I have to talk to somebody in order to schedule a tour. And we have to go back and forth on email 3 times. And I call in and get the answering machine and they call me back and I'm doing drop off at soccer practice. Like no one has time for that. Right. And so
and as principled as we all are about big decisions, in the moment relevance is to me, that's the best leverage that you have. Like if you can make a phone call back, or if you can get a schedule, and we're not talking about a phone call, but if you can schedule that next step in the moment, same day, get it done. Just imagine kind of like the psychological positioning of, oh, I don't have to wait for the 3 games of phone tag we're going to play back and forth. And then
Absolutely.
I'm thinking like the reason my intent right now, the reason I'm looking is I need childcare today, most likely, or I need it ASAP. I don't need it a year and a half from now. Like some of your waiting lists look, and congratulations for that. We
Yeah.
love to hear that, but
Yeah.
no, in the moment relevance is the biggest lever that you have for high conversion.
Absolutely. So having a self-scheduled calendar functionality on your website, crucial. We talked about the registration process already. I won't spend a ton of time on it, but digitizing that step, again, it's just as much about conversion and removing the friction as it is about having less paper, right? And you can accomplish both. To Scott's point, even if it's not 100% digital, even if you need a wet signature and you need a paper copy, that doesn't mean you shouldn't reduce the friction in the sign up step, right? It's a key distinction there. So you know where your leads are coming from. You know what parents are looking for as they shop these days. And then how do you engage them, right? And how do you, I know what you're probably thinking, that's a lot of stuff to do. I already have a busy day and I'm about to show you really back to that sales and marketing best practice and things that that you should do of any organization in any industry. One of the rules, the rule of 7, is suggests that a lead needs 7 follow-ups, 7 engagements before they'll buy. And it's proven, tried and true, many different industries. It's not just childcare, but it's this idea that you're continually engaging folks, and it's going to take more than once. We, like Scott said, push notifications get pushed to the side. We all get tons of emails every day. We still get flyers and things in the mail. And it takes, I don't know about you, but it takes multiple times to see something before I will actually read it and then maybe even act on it, right? And so the idea is having a system to help you do this, because we're all super busy. And especially as we start to come out of the pandemic, the additional rules and requirements and regulations on a childcare center, there's a lot, and there's a lot to do every day. And so how do you go about doing 7 different engagements or more with every single person that shows interest in your center? And it's really all about automation, right? It's about leveraging technology out there, tools like a CRM or like a management system in Kangarootime to manage these tasks for you, so that as you're doing your day to day, this stuff's working in the background, right? And one of the key features of any sales and marketing tool like a CRM is this idea that you can engage with folks with pre-built campaigns. You can obviously always edit them or tweak them if you need to, but it's this idea that when someone shows interest on your site, I want them to get a text right away and let them know that, hey, we got your inquiry. We'll call you, in 5 hours. Your center director gets a task put on their calendar to remind them, hey, call Judy back. She showed interest in our center within 5 hours. At the end of the day, I want to send them an email, nice branded email with a picture, some details about the center, and thank them for the call today. Maybe the next day, another email that says, or text that says, hey, would love to get you in for a tour. Here are some available times for you, right? And all of this can happen in the background without you having to press send on everyone. And that's a key in your ability to scale the business and not miss any leads while still taking care of what matters most day to day in the center, right? And then that also goes for lost leads too. So I think a lot of folks think, okay, a lead comes in and I got one shot, and if I convert them, I convert them, and if I don't, I don't. What the pandemic has done for all of us is it's made us assess every bit of our lives, right? Our work, our schools, where I'm dropping off for childcare, what sports kids are going to participate in when they're available, kind of rethinking everything, right? And so just because you may have lost a lead in the past, or someone said, no, I'm not going to enroll right now, or I've chosen somewhere else, doesn't mean you should ignore them. And there's a term in sales and marketing called nurture, or nurturing your lost leads, that a tool like this helps you do. And it's this idea that, yeah, you probably shouldn't spend all your time on the ones that are lost, because you have new ones coming in, new opportunities you need to focus on, but you can't ignore the lost ones either, right? And so this idea of setting up automated nurture campaigns that are driven on events within your school. So you want to start a conversation with these lost leads when you have new teachers, new educators to announce, some cool new curriculum, you got new amenities added to the school, or new programs, anything that would generate some interest could start a campaign with a lost lead. And then basically what these nurture campaigns will do is, based on how that lead interacts with your message, if they click on the email, if they open the email, if they read it, if they click on the link embedded in it to take them to your website for your center, you can then dictate what kind of email you want them to get next, or what kind of text you want to get next, right? And so it's this idea that you can nurture those lost leads through back into your funnel, right? And you're sending out, value added information about your center, or even a survey, right? That we've seen folks do a survey, which has been really cool to understand, you went somewhere else. Are you happy? Are you liking? If you're not liking it, what are you not liking? Because maybe something that they don't love about that center they chose is right in your wheelhouse and what you do best, right? And you don't know if you don't ask. So this whole idea of automating campaigns and nurturing the lost ones are just as important as the new ones that are going in, right? Make sense? And that registration step is huge. And I know Scott's passionate about it, and Kangarootime has great tools for it too. So I don't know if you want to hit on that a little bit too, Scott.
Yeah. So Matt, we got a question, and I thought this was an interesting kind of like adjacent conversation. So Barb asked, we aren't letting anybody in the center. So we aren't letting anybody in the center while we're open. It has to be when we're closed at night or on weekends. What is the best way around that? I think number one, when we talk about having framework so that families can engage with you, that's totally important. I love it that people are grinding and they're staying after hours, but that's tough, to do tours. Another area, Matt, and again, digital registration's a must. Making all your documents digital and secure so that people can convey those and you can eliminate the friction. How have you seen your centers address this question with not being able to kind of accommodate in-person tours?
Yep. So I think best practice really is in your engagements and the communications you are sending, whether it's text or email, when folks first raise their hand and are interested in your center, you got to use pictures, you got to use video, do a virtual tour. Like, you can get those front and center at the very beginning of the journey, that lead journey that you talk about in sales and marketing. And it's proven that using images and using videos are way more effective than big blocks of text, right? And so you have that ability to leverage the different mediums up front that are going to give people a better insight into the center and the experience they may have if they enroll their children there.
So Matt, yeah, you're absolutely right. So that digital communication. Also, if you can personalize it, and I have a tip here for everybody. I use a free browser widget called Vidyard. And Vidyard allows me to do like quick demos, and it shows my face, and I can show a computer screen. You can not show your computer screen and do a tour and personalize it. Hey, Stuart. Hey, I'm so glad you inquired. We're really glad to have you. You're interested in our center. How about I give you like a quick 2-minute tour, and then you send that video, and it has like a little thumbnail on it. It's called Vidyard, Vidyard. It's free. It's a great hack, or a great tool that you can use to kind of like personalize things, which I think is so key.
Yep, love Vidyard. Our folks use it too in the same way, to be able to go on a center's website and show them, when we do an implementation, show them where the button should go for your inquiry, and how our web forms would integrate on your website. And doing it for folks on their website, I think helps a lot to kind of, it gives you context and helps things make a little more sense, you know, as you walk through it. So totally agree. Great stuff. So let's talk about one of our mutual customers who's awesome. Tuckaway's got a great story and has had a lot of success with CRM and Kangarootime together. So we want to show you guys a quick clip that I think you'll like. So let me get over to that there.
Tuckaway Child Development and Early Education Centers in Richmond, Virginia. We have 7 locations with a total of about 1,500 students. I've worked for the company for 30 years. The integration between CRM and Kangarootime saves me so much time. They're entered in CRM. It's just a click of a button to integrate a family into Kangarootime, and all you have to do is set the child up with the classroom. And just last night it was 5 minutes, and I entered 7 children from CRM into Kangarootime. It is phenomenal. Before we started using CRM, we had, you know, when tours came in, they would fill out what we had was like a tour card that, you know, old, antiquated, and we put them on a spreadsheet. So the only way to communicate with them would be manual, and then parents would have to fill out a registration form, and then I would have to take those registration forms. The schools would have to scan them to me, and I'd have to manually enter every little detail. Prior to going to Kangarootime, I was using 2 different systems, one for daily communications with the parents and one for the billing, and the parents they just didn't integrate together. Parents had to go one place to get their child's information, another place to get accounting information. And at that time, I was the sole person for all 7 locations. It has just made life easier, so much easier. Again, when I went from 3.5 days on accounts to now maybe a half a day just looking at stuff and done, it's wonderful. And with it coming over from CRM, and CRM, if the parents put their start date or expected start date, that imports over into Kangarootime. It really sold me on it when they said that I could import the children into Kangarootime. That was the seller. If I did not have CRM and Kangarootime to integrate together, I would be spending a lot of my time having to manually input information into Kangarootime. The efficiency of it and the quickness is a lifesaver. Time saver. Lifesaver. It gives us time to spend quality time doing other things that they have you taken care of from the first phone call to the time they graduate.
Awesome stuff. Love it. There really isn't so much value in getting your business systems to work together and partner together, which is great about the CRM and Kangarootime partnership. You get it out of the box, right? And it's ready to go. And you can see some of the success that Tuckaway's had using both. A really high conversion rate. So 45% conversion rate on new leads into the system that are going to registered or waitlist, right? Like pretty incredible. Just to give you guys kind of like a sales and marketing rule of thumb, you know, anything around 20% would be awesome. Like in our system, if we look across, we have 4,000 centers on our CRM in 5 different countries, right? And this is probably double what we see the average for conversion rate for a center, right? And it speaks to her diligence in following up with leads, having the campaign set up, interacting, you know, quickly and often, you know, that rule of 7. And then the efficiencies gained on the back end when you say, okay, I have all of these flowing through the system. All I got to do is press a button to make them appear in Kangarootime. Pretty sweet, for sure.
Hey, Matt, and one of the things we hear from our centers day after day, you know, just regularly is they fight so hard to express quality in their classrooms and in their organizations. And then to know that they can put in the right systems, and that quality can be extensible. That quality can be also expressed in how they help people and democratize the quality in their classrooms to as many families as they can. So when you deploy Kangarootime and CRM, and you have those tools to reduce the friction, to get tours done, even during a tumultuous time like COVID. When you do that, you're just enhancing that quality that you're fighting so hard to express in your organization. So I've always said it, at Kangarootime, when we look at our sales funnel, it's about a partnership. It's about helping people democratize the best business that they can to help as many families as they can. And where you can reduce friction, it's just a really beautiful thing.
Yes, for sure. So on that topic, we'd love to hear from you, right? So you can benefit from the partnership and the systems and the tools that are out there to help you succeed. So I know Scott mentioned at the beginning, as a Kangarootime customer, you sign up with CRM, no setup fees, which is awesome. We do a really extensive setup and get you all dialed in, automate all your campaigns and all the business rules. We basically say, what parent experience do you want if someone raises their hand and inquires about your site? And from there, we'll build out the tool to make it work exactly the way you want, right? And so that's all we'll do right away for free. And then also 30 days after that free using the system, which we're love to provide to anyone that's using Kangarootime, but not Childcare CRM yet, for sure.
That's great, Matt. Yeah, I can feel my crippling anxiety going away. So the more customers that take advantage of this, the better. Another thing I'd like to mention is you guys have been such an amazing partner to us, with you and Chuck being very adamant about a bidirectional interface and pushing the boundaries of the technology, because with the technology's not done right, it's not as good. Again, our customers are fighting for quality. We've done the same thing, and the bidirectional nature of the interface. So when a child disenrolls, that goes back over to CRM. CRM understands the business rules. It's really beautiful, and we've worked hard on it. And guys, it's getting better. The new Childcare Forms platform, we will be integrating the forms into the Kangarootime document manager. So sign up now. It will be free and you'll get a benefit for a few months on the Kangarootime side. And then it just gets better and better, and your fees don't go up.
Awesome. Well, we got a minute or two left. Any questions in there, Scott, you see that we should tackle or follow?
Yeah. So there was a question on codes for the promotion. Genevieve and Sierra will get those out to everybody on the call. Poll results. Let's go over some poll results. Genevieve, speaking of a top of the funnel, just there we go. Top of the funnel, mad woman. And by the way, congratulations. I know CRM's marketing team just put out the top women innovators in childcare tech, and Genevieve was not only on the slide, she had a crown on her head. So right now she's the reigning queen of childcare tech. But before we embarrass her too much, Genevieve, any thoughts on the results here?
You can see the results on the screen, right?
Yeah, I can see them.
Yeah, so not surprisingly, because we hear this all the time anecdotally from our customers, but word of mouth and referrals are the reigning champion by a long shot, with 71% saying that is where most of their leads come from.
Matt, I know you guys, as we kind of like read the tea leaves into the future, and we'll wrap up in just a moment, we should probably mention our partners at Winnie and you use Kinside, yes. Yep. And can we maybe promise a future webinar with one or both of those?
Yes. Yeah, we'll do that for sure. They, two great solutions, great ladies founded each of those companies. And they help visibility, right? Help you get your centers, open spots out onto the internet for folks who are looking to find them, and have post reviews and good feedback from current families on your listings, and really helps with the word of mouth. You know, we have folks leveraging CRM for that too, right? All those automated communications we talk about, and what kind of content do you put out there? One great thing to put out there is a success story or a case study or something from a family who loves your center and has great things to say about it. So yes, very cool.
So Matt, that's our time. I want to thank you. Oh, do we have a couple more to share? Let's share these real quick. So what's your favorite way to communicate with parents? Multiple choice. The winner is email. Again, I think, but it looks like text is rising.
Real close. Yep.
Yeah, text is close. And I think, again, you know, in 2015, when I was doing customer development, phone was probably like 70%.
Totally.
And I think if you're looking at the time, the horse race over time, text will be the winner there.
Absolutely.
We have one more, right, Jen?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey everybody, Sierra, Genevieve, you guys are the real heroes here. You make you know, this Shrek look good, and handsome Matt. I know you can just roll out of bed and run a 4.3. But thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. We love you. We are so ready to kind of get on with the roaring 2020s. So reach out if you need anything. If you have any content suggestions, both our marketing teams would love to hear from you. But thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you carving out the time. And Matt, love you, man. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, bud. Thank you all. Have a great one.
See you guys.